Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son sit down and talk about fantasy, sci fi, and whatever else we want to nerd out about. This episode is something we're calling a tiny talk, where I'm going to keep it to 5 minutes or less. And it's a new format for us in Fantasy for the Ages. I mean, if you listen to us, you know if keeping it under an hour is rare. So this is something different we're adding, but it's only going to be available on our YouTube channel. This one, kind of as a teaser, I'm going to port over to our audio podcast feed as well. But after this, if you want more of these tiny talks, just little punches of things, you gotta come subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that's where you'll find a playlist just of all our tiny talks. There'll be just one here first, but you might find two already. I plan to do a second one today. We'll see if I get that far. Because I'm also getting over a cold, so my voice doesn't sound quite as normal. Tiny talk. What does this mean? Okay, it's a way that we can just share on books we've read, things we're excited about, something we just want to rant on, and again, give it to you in just 5 minutes. Usually, this will be just me or just Zach. That's right, Zachary on his own presenting content for you. He hasn't done that yet before, but it's coming. But today, you get just me. And I want you to get excited about this. You get Fantasy for the Ages in a concise format. I know, you're not sure you can believe it, but we're going to try to keep it short, keep it brief, and boy, I got to fly because I'm halfway through my time already. Also, note, the Tiny Talks will have a few different styles. This one is a book blast. So I'm just going to talk about a book I've read and give you some thoughts on it. Here we go. This one is on the Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi. Scalzi is an established, successful science fiction author, but this was the first of his books I'd actually checked out. I'd heard of Red Shirts back in 2013. It was actually Best Hugo Award Novel of the Year. I've added it to my TBR now because I loved this one so much, but he's got a whole bunch of other sci-fi books and series that are out there. You might want to check them out. I found John Scalzi's book here wonderful. I also didn't just read it, I did the audiobook version. So Will Wheaton was entertaining me with this book, and I found his narrative style delightful. I knew him from Star Trek, The Next Generation, and Big Bang Theory. I like Will Wheaton. I really loved his narrative style in this book. He also does Red Shirts, so another reason it's on my TBR now. But back to Kaiju Preservation Society. This book was written during the COVID pandemic and is literally set in our world in the midst of a COVID pandemic. A little meta there, but in a very good way. While we're all thinking of how do we escape the pressures and issues of being locked down by a virus, the story shares a way that a character is able to escape into a parallel dimension. Now, there's more to it than that, but this is not a book review. This is just blasting about stuff, so I'm not going to go into details. But parallel dimension, what do we find there? Kaiju, the place where, freaking Godzilla, the monsters from Pacific Rim actually come from. And it's all explained. And that somehow they still, no matter where they come from, all destroy Tokyo. Okay, not in this book. I found this story fantastic, delightful, easy to consume as a sci-fi read. It's not heavy at all. It's quite fun. The ending was rather predictable, but in an endearing way, not boring. I thoroughly enjoyed the novel. I would recommend it to pretty much anyone. If you prefer hardcore science fiction, this might be a bit light for you. But if you just want a fun romp through some lighter sci-fi fare, flirting with fantasy, this could be for you. It's got some common good guy, bad guy tropes, nothing too dark, and there isn't much that could be considered necessary of trigger warnings. Personally, I'd recommend this book to just about anyone. And as it's not really like, Wheel of Time length or Stormlight Archive size books, it's a pretty light investment to go ahead and just try a nice palate cleanser between longer, deeper reads, which is precisely how I used it. I hope you enjoyed this little blast, our tiny talk, and we'll talk to you next time.